Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I'm talking with my good friend, John Anthony, who's in a hotel right now because he's seeing to his mom, making sure she's okay because she's in the hospital right now. And he's assured me that she is fine and things will be okay. But anyways, before we get started, basically, John, what I do here is I talk to people about their journeys away from whatever faith systems or belief systems they were once a part of. And all you guys out there, if you check the description box below, you can find a few links where you can find John on the social webs there and follow his YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So, so head down there and check it out. Anyway, John, why don't you kind of take us back to the days of being some form of a believer and how you found your way out of it into becoming the activist that you are today.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I never really considered myself an activist, but okay, that's yeah. But no, I get on YouTube and I do stuff. I don't really. It's just kind of whenever something strikes me. I don't really consider myself an activist. I like to just talk about stuff,
Sure.
Just how things strike me. But yeah, so I guess when I was, of course, growing up, I grew up in Alabama. I grew up in the South. Christianity was kind of a default. It was just the way things were done. But I was kind of in a niche because my family was Catholic. So I was raised Catholic until the time I was about 12. I went through the first communion and confirmation and all of the trappings. Yeah, I was at the children's group every Wednesday night, mass every Sunday morning. And that was till I was about 12 years old. It was one of those things that my parents never really we didn't really discuss it much at home. It wasn't like it was a church thing. We had our church life, then we had our home life, and we didn't really have to. I didn't really have to worry about we didn't have statues of Mary in the living room or anything like that. It wasn't that extreme. But no, so it was kind of just one of those things you do. You go to mass and you do your thing, and that's it.
Your dutiful Catholic things,
right? You do what Catholics do, and you go to your services, and you come home and you live your life. It wasn't a huge part of our lives, but it was a part.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents split up a little, like when I was about 7 or 8. But we still, I think they still took me to church and everything. Kind of one of those, they wanted me to grow up in church kind of thing. Most Southern parents do. They tend to want to. They think that it's a good upbringing. But so around, around the age of 12, it was kind of one of those things where if you don't want to go, we're not going to make you anymore. And of course, I didn't want to. I had no desire to go. It wasn't anything. Obviously, I still believed in God. But it wasn't a big deal to me. I was 12 years old. I didn't really have any interest in it.
Well, sure. I think at that point in our age, when you're that age, I think church is probably the most boring thing you want to do, right? Or you don't.
Right. I just want to play Nintendo and hang out with my friends. I'm not into that. It's Wednesday nights. I've been at school all day. I don't want to go to church. So, also no. I mean, I spent a few years just doing what kids do, and then I believe I was probably about lower levels of high school, I believe, is when I started. I was invited to a church by my sister, who was invited by her friend. So she wanted someone to go with her. She didn't want to go by herself, so I went with her, and we started going pretty regularly, and just got involved with the youth group there. It was a non-denominational, more of a the denomination was a Christian Missionary Alliance. It was not denominational, but it had an affiliation, and their main focus was missionary work and things like that.
Okay,
but got involved heavily with them. Then that's pretty much where I started. I got a lot more dedicated to the religion, to Christianity, and to the ideas in general. That's when I started more immersing myself in the Bible and things like that. After I didn't go to college straight away, I went to like a couple of years of like community college, I guess you would call it. The basic levels. I was still going to church and heavily involved in church at the time, and then I at that point, so that was about right after I got out of high school is when I started kind of thinking about possibly wanting to go into ministry one day.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things. If you're heavily involved in Christianity, if you're heavily involved in that sort of thing, at some point it crosses everyone's mind. I think it does. I think it's one of those things like everyone thinks they're being called to it. And
right. And you're not the first person to say that. So yeah.
Right. And now looking back, it's just a product of the culture more than anything, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
But so yeah, I started getting involved with. I moved down to Florida to attend the community college, and I got involved with the church there. And this was in my college, like older years. I was over 18 at this point. I'm more in like a college age. And and the church I was with kind of approached me and wanted me to kind of start leading the youth group there and things like that. I believe I was about 19, about 20 years old at the point. And so that's when I started, sort of training to become a youth minister, and then eventually did. But about 2 or 3 years later, it wasn't a major shift, but it was about 2 years after I left or come to Florida. I'm sorry. I was talking to just some members of the church. For some reason, this is what whenever this question comes up, how did things start to unravel? This was one of the conversations that stuck out in my mind. And it's we were standing around talking, and it was just kind of, we got to talking about other religions, Islam and things like that. And someone brought up something I'd never heard of, which was Scientology.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I had never heard that word before. I was aware of the Hindu and Muslim and things like that, and other prominent religions in the world, but no one ever mentioned Scientology. I said, "What is that?" I was like, "You have to take me through this. Is this like a new thing?" It's like, "Well, it's been around since about the 70s, but it's fairly new, and in relation to the others." So they told me about it, and then someone said, "I can't believe people would actually believe that kind of thing." And for some reason, it did. Right then, it struck me that don't we believe some stuff that people would say that about?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a jarring thing, but it was. I do remember distinctly thinking to myself, why is it that we're allowed to get away with it? What is it about our beliefs that are just make it the default position is it the air, and then I started, obviously later on in the years when I started looking a lot more into it, because I did at the time I heard that, I kind of pushed it down and just didn't pay much attention to it.
Right.
But I still always remembered that conversation, and that was I guess that was probably the first thing, if I had to look back and say what led to me eventually becoming an atheist, I would say it was something that probably happened about 5 years before I even knew what an atheist was. And it was probably that conversation. But I went through a couple of years of ministry, and then I actually went to a university, and it sort of became one of those things where you start looking into things a little more as you start meeting new people, meeting people outside your bubble, outside of what you've been raised around your whole life.
Sure.
And I guess it was just, and then I couldn't even tell you when it was exactly. I probably couldn't even tell you the year that I actually started looking into what atheism was, because it was a very gradual progression. It was a very gradual progression from these are non-believers, these are different religious groups, to these are people who hold no belief whatsoever, who hold no God belief at all. And that was always a very foreign concept. But I looking back on it, like I said, I never even had a concept of what an atheist was.
Right.
Yeah, it was yeah. Go ahead.
What I mean, when you say that you'd never heard the term before?
No, I mean we didn't. Especially when I was in church, they never brought the word up at all. It was always the unbelievers, I guess, is what we heard a lot of.
Sure,
but that didn't really resonate as people who had actually thought about it. Like, these are the people who have sat down, thought about these questions, and come to conclusions, and come to work these things out for themselves. These are just people who if they knew about this kind of thing, they would be on board. Of course they would want to know Jesus. They would want Christianity because it's so awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so it was always kind of couched in that sort of that sort of vein of, if there's unbelievers out there, it's because we're not doing our jobs to reach them.
Right.
Not because they've actually considered it and found our side lacking. So it was very, even looking back, like I said, looking back, I'm going, wow, that was very very ingenious of them.
Well, I mean, when I think back to the days, as I was raised as a Jew, so when I think back to the days of being in synagogue, and I don't really recall them ever using the word atheist either, although, most of the time I was distracted by my friends when we're sitting around, goofing around while the whole services are going on. So they may have, but I definitely do remember hearing the term unbeliever kind of thing.
Right.
But I guess they just didn't use the term because maybe they would be afraid that someone might go, geez, what's an atheist? And then look it up, and who knows what that could lead to.
To be fair, I never heard theist either. So it wasn't,
okay.
It wasn't as if but it wasn't as if they were, as I said, the unbelievers weren't presented like we know atheists are. Because we obviously know atheists are same as unbelievers, obviously, but they weren't presented in that way. They weren't presented as what atheists actually are. They were just presented as, people that we haven't gotten to yet.
We haven't shared the word with yet.
Right. We're the ones that are messing up here. And, if they go to hell, it's our fault because we didn't live our lives appropriately, or we didn't, we didn't take the time to share this message with them. This good news, obviously, that they like to call it. And
just adding to the guilt complex too, right?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was that's how you come in, and that's how you stay. You don't you're told you're broken, you're told you're flawed, and that you need this. Now you're guilty because you're not broken anymore, and letting other people remain broken. So now you're still guilty.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess that's the way they keep you open there.
Oh, that's the hook, and that's the hook, and that's the anchor. Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of anchor, what was that? That's some new catchphrase now because of her name escapes me, but the first female kicker in a college ball game.
Oh, right, at Vanderbilt today. That was right.
Yeah.
I saw that today.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. First female in a Power 5 game. That's right.
That's it. That's what it was. Power 5 game. That's right. Yeah. And you're a Bama fan, right?
Oh, of course.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Yeah, I watched that game and enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah. My very good friend Mikey's a huge Alabama fan, so because of his influence, I've sort of become an Alabama fan too. So,
obviously I grew up there. I've been kind of the thing my whole life, and there's been some hard years, but these last 10 or so have been great.
Yeah, they've been a kick-ass team. My very good friend Faye, who's also known as Wonder Lady, wanted to know, did you think that atheists had never heard of godly things?
Right. It was, as far as unbelievers, it wasn't that they didn't believe in God. It was that they just didn't understand the message of Jesus. It was that they didn't know that they could be forgiven. It was, like I said, atheists, like the thought of someone not actually believing in God didn't really occur to me. As weird as that sounds, as it's looking back, it's like, how does that not cross your mind? But the thought of someone not just believing in some generic, at least a deistic, what I know as deistic form of God now.
Yeah.
At the time, it's like, well, they believe in something, they just don't know. They haven't honed in on what it is. They don't understand the message of Jesus Christ and what it can do for their lives. That's what they were unbelieving. It wasn't that they didn't believe God existed. It was they didn't understand the Jesus portion.
Right.
They were just misled. Right. Either they had the wrong religion, or they did not. Or they hadn't been presented with the correct one yet. So, yeah, I mean, I did a video like about a week and a half ago. Maybe it might have been even less than that. But Paul Copeland, Old Testament scholar, and I'd go watch the video if you want to. But it was I'll try not to butcher what I even said. I can't remember. Yeah, if it is, that's great. But the channel link is below us, right? So it's the last video I did. Deflate is the name of the channel that was interviewing him, but they were basically talking about laws in the Old Testament, and are we just kind of misunderstanding them? It turns out we're not, but they think we are. But it turns out that it got to the end of the video, and it was kind of that kind of insidious thing that if you look for it eventually, even PhDs and Old Testament scholars, if they are pitching Christianity, will eventually get to this thing of you're broken, you're flawed, and you need what we have to fix you. And it was kind of, I was like, man, because first off, the entire video was, we're going to talk about the Old Testament, but they kept on using New Testament verses.
Right.
It was, well, what about this? Yeah, what about this problem in Exodus? Well, if you looked at what Jesus said in Matthew, we can understand. I'm like, well, hold on, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
but,
you just talking
keep going. Right. I thought we were doing the Old Testament. Well, no, the New Testament explains that. So did the New Testament people just had no idea? They were just left in the dark, I guess, because it took Jesus coming along, years later to actually explain what was going on. They just kind of had to go, well, I guess this is just what we're going to do. But no, it was the fact that even, people who have studied these things for years can still be, I guess, can put the blinders on and still kind of look at this and go, well, at the end of the day, this may seem bad, but we don't understand because it's just we're just flawed and we're broken and we need Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, well, so at the end of the day, that's what it will always fall back to. When you try to get deep into it, it falls apart. When you try to pick it apart, it falls apart. When you try to actually make it make sense, it falls apart. And even PhD Old Testament scholars can't fix that problem that they have.
Yeah. That's true. And it's funny because you often hear about how they say about how Jesus fulfilled all the prophecies of the Old Testament, and honestly, he nowhere near filled them. So
right, we have Tyr still standing, and I mean,
yep,
there's plenty of them, right?
Yeah, it
is. It's interesting. And like I said, I look back. I do look back on my time as a Christian, especially in ministry. I was just I can't say I was. I don't say I regret it. Obviously, things you live and you learn from things, but I look back and I go, man, at least I wasn't trying to do apologetics, I guess, because I think I would be. I think I would feel worse if I was actively engaging in telling someone that no, we have a good rational basis for this, and this is, this is backed up by archaeological evidence and all of these things. And so I can say that like it was definitely I was the style of, I guess, my style of ministry was this is a fake thing. This is something that you have to experience for yourself, and this is one of those things that occurs in your heart, so to speak, quote unquote.
Right.
And it wasn't, we're going to do a logical syllogism and show why God exists. So, yeah.
Do they have any? Do they even have any logical syllogisms?
They think they do. It's just it's interesting because the more I get into that kind of thing, the more I get into like the logic and the philosophy of it, I find it a lot more interesting every day. I'm not even that knowledgeable about it at all. I'm very ignorant of 99.9% of it. But that's probably what makes every time I do catch something, on people's channels and things like that, it's like, I find myself going, well, this seems right. But then the very next day I'll watch something on the other position and go, well, that seems right now. Now I gotta go back and watch something else on the position that I just, abandoned in a way, even if maybe temporary, I gotta go watch something else on this now because I gotta make sure I wasn't screwing up there. So now I'm constantly questioning myself. It's maddening and it's fun at the same time.
It's good though. It's good to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a way you train. You train yourself. You train your thinking skills, and you learn not to trust yourself in a way. You learn that you can be your own worst enemy when it comes to rational thinking. And if you're going to check yourself that much, you'll check everybody else even more so.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's definitely one of the things I've been enjoying about the I started the YouTube channel about the spring of this year, and I don't get to do it as often as I would like to. With I have a work schedule that's pretty hectic and family and everything, but it's usually I don't like to do things when just to put something out. I like to do something when something catches my eye and something when I hear something new, when I hear someone trying to put a new spin on something, I like to try to. I like to try to be the first to catch it. Obviously, in this kind of community, it's a lot of things have been covered ad nauseum. But I do love to try, but if it's new to me, so if I do something and I think it's new to me, y'all feel free to go in the comments and y'all tell me, hey, that's been covered a bunch. You're not figuring anything out new there. I'm fine with that. That's fine too. But if I hear something that I haven't heard, I can't wait to go and try to pick it apart and see what's going on with it.
Sure. But you know as well as I do that they generally tend to use the same old tropes over and over and over again. No matter how many times we refute them.
It is. And eventually we usually get to a point where it's like, oh wait, that's what this is. It was just disguised differently. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that can be some of the fun part is where you just figure out what their new color of camouflage is in a way. So you can spot that. It's almost like strategizing for a game, and I enjoy talking to Christians, and not in a hostile way or anything, but it's definitely like I do like the strategy of it. I do like because I don't want to. It's a debate style format. You want to call it that. We can have friendly conversations and debates, but it can still be strategic. It can still be this kind of thing of, how adept am I at recognizing which arguments are taking place, which fallacies are taking place, which lines of reasoning are being used, if they're faulty or not. So it has become like a sort of a fun game for me when I do talk to Christians on my channel, or talk to people who hold some beliefs that I might find irrational or whatever. But it's one of those fun things that is, it helps me. It's more for me than it is for really anybody else, because I like to try to get better at vetting what I'm taking in.
Mm-hmm. For sure. A couple of interesting questions have popped up in the chat. I don't know if you can actually see the chat from your phone. I'm not sure if it works the same as it can be. That's okay. Mikey, my producer, had an interesting question, and I wanted to ask you this for sure. What would you say to your former religious self to change their mind if you had the chance to do something like that?
I would have said the exact same thing. I would have elaborated more on the conversation that I overheard about Scientology. I would have said, okay. I was like, no, don't let that. Let's hang on to this for a second. Let's see where this rabbit hole goes.
Yeah.
I would have basically picked up on that exact because I'm gonna follow my words here. It's somebody can say something to you, and it really does have to be the right time. It has to be the right time, the right place, maybe even the right person sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't know that same conversation the next day would have gotten the same attention from me. I don't know that if it had happened a week before, it would have gotten the same attention. So not knowing that, I would have said to my former self, I would have said, whenever that moment hits, don't push it back. Dig into it more. Dig into it as much as you can. Keep digging until you get satisfactory answers, and don't let it. I guess don't let your ideas get away without being critiqued.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Another interesting one. Have you ever been in a relationship, since being an atheist? I mean, have you ever been in a relationship with someone who was more into Jesus than you, or even before being an atheist?
Yeah, I became an atheist after I was already married. After I really became an atheist and just knew what it was, and kind of had established that that describes me to the T. But we didn't go to church. It wasn't a thing of. It wasn't really a big. It wasn't a practice we had or anything. My wife was raised Christian. She's from Alabama also, so it was just once again the default position. So. But it wasn't a big deal. I just we started talking about it. She, noticed that I was watching, videos about it and things like that. And I talked to her about it, and she kind of goes, that does make sense. It does. A lot of that stuff is pretty questionable. You're right. And if I had to ask her, she would probably say that she doesn't believe that it's actually true. She thinks it's a fun, it's a nice story. It's a nice sentiment, a lot of it, just on its surface. Obviously, she doesn't go into the depths of it that I do. It's just not something she's interested in. But as far as she goes, well, there's some nice things in there, and it's a cute little story. I think she looks at it more of like it would be a book of fables kind of thing. If you were to sit a child down and pick out the good parts, are there good stories you can tell them from the Bible, and they can learn a little lesson from? Sure. Don't tell them the other ones though, because we don't want to scar them. That's kind of the. But yeah, it doesn't really. It never caused any issues. It was never never anything that even came up contentiously at all. But if you asked her if she which line are you going to sign on? You'll be atheist or theist? She'd probably sign on the atheist line from the discussions we've had.
Really? Do you think you had a little bit of a hand in that, maybe?
Oh, I'm sure it was kind of one of those. I mean, but before even I questioned it, it wasn't. Before I even started looking into it, it wasn't a big part of our lives or anything like that anyway. So it wasn't this big thing we had to overcome or anything for either one of us, really. Yeah, so it was a very
It could be a deal breaker for some people, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm very thankful to have been in the position that I was, to where it was a very smooth transition, and I don't know, like, if there's certain people in my family, had things gone differently in my life, that let's say that for some reason my parents weren't around and I was left to be raised by my grandparents, this would have been a monumentally huge thing.
Okay.
So
your grandparents quite religious, or?
Yes, when they were alive, they were. Yes. So I mean, they were Baptists and First Baptist Church, and so it was full bore. It was even in general conversation, it was talking about Jesus and things like that. Don't let the devil just distract you from things and things like that. It was and when I became a youth minister, they were ecstatic, and yeah. So it was it would have definitely been different had just a couple events away from it being a very different transition, a very different life, and a very more significant one, and probably much harder to deal with. But I definitely got lucky in that area.
Well, before the missus, when you were like on the dating scene, did you date some pretty fundamentalist type girls at all, or were they all just kind of average, sort of?
Yeah, not fundamentalist. Yeah, not fundamentalist. It wasn't. But I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know I don't know if I would have considered ourselves fundamentalists or not. We may have been. It was one of those things, like, everyone I knew was involved in the church. So I don't know how we looked to people that weren't. I didn't have a lens to see myself through at the time.
Okay.
And even looking back, it doesn't seem that we were, we weren't holding signs on the street corners, like Westboro or anything.
The world is coming to an end.
Right. And even those kind of people we kind of looked at going, that's a bit much. It's like, well, you're probably a little right, but don't be a dick. But that kind of thing. But yeah, it's like we kind of agree with you in principle, but you're going about it the wrong way, kind of thing. It's like, and that was more the thing of, we don't want to we don't want to come off as being douchebags. We just kind of want to we want to bring people in the loving way. But I mean, I'm sure some of the beliefs that the people the girls I would hang out with and the people I was around, I'm sure there's a lot of beliefs we would have that would be considered fundamentalist beliefs. At one point, I would have probably said that the Earth was 6,000 years old. I probably would have said that Adam and Eve were literal people. I probably would have said that the flood actually happened. I mean, I can guarantee that would have come out of my mouth at some point.
Sure. I don't know if just believing that the Earth is 6,000 years old and that Adam and Eve were the actual first people qualifies as being fundamentalist. That's just being a believer in what the Bible has to say, really. And I'm sure you don't think any of that anymore.
No. No, I think the Earth is 4,000 years old now. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute. Hang on a second. Wasn't the flood 4,000 years ago or something?
It's the aliens.
So what made you decide? No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what made you decide to start actually making videos?
It was the more I got into, I guess I started hearing more about the logic and the philosophy side of it. I started getting into that, and I started really I kind of wanted to get people's feedback. I kind of wanted to just put my ideas out there and have people tell me why they're wrong.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of say, like, well, here's when I see this is the impression that I get. This is my completely uneducated, never studied philosophy, never studied logic, never studied things like that. And as it goes, I'm learning a little more with each video. I've watched some other stuff. I've read some more stuff. I'm continually expanding my knowledge base, but I also I'm expanding it for myself. I also want other people to help me with it. So, basically every video I put out is a solicitation for just comments on how to look at things differently. Mm-hmm. Just basically saying, here's my ideas right now. This is by no means this might not even be what I think tomorrow. Because like I said, I hear something the next day and it's like, oh yeah, that thing I thought yesterday was bad. That was garbage. So now I'm on this now. Like, for instance, like I was, if you'd asked me last week, I would have said, morality is subjective. I'm on this thing now. I've been just thinking about it more, and I'm like, well, I think I may have figured out a way where it could be objective. I don't know. I'm still mulling it over. I'm still not in the way that a God exists to make it objective, but in a different sort of way. But
right.
It was like so it's not even I still it's one of those things that, like, I'll be sitting there laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and you have that meme where it's your brain's telling you your brain won't let you sleep. So that's what's going on lately. Yeah,
been there many times, man.
That's what I've been dealing with over the last couple of days. Just going over that in my head. So I've been looking online about stuff like that, but not having any background in how to read these extremely educated people's papers and things like that. I definitely have to. It takes me a lot longer. But I'll get there eventually, or I'll just have fun doing it.
I mean, I understand that completely, because being a hack chemist that I am, I'm reading a lot of the papers when I'm at work and stuff. I'll flip through a bunch of stuff that's online and whatnot about chemistry and stuff, and sometimes even some of that gets over my head. So, although
I'll get in the rooms with it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, after reading, I'll look it up in like one of our books, and okay, now I get it, sort of thing. But at the time, it's like, well, wait, what? Sort of thing, right? So I get that for sure.
Yeah, I'll just listen to. I'll go and if I ever start thinking, I've got a pretty good beat on things, I'll go watch an R&R video. Bring myself back to earth. Oh, I don't know jack shit. Yeah, let me just go back.
I literally just finished his book. Like, I've been reading it little bits, and listening to it on the audio as well. It's cool because he does the audio for his own book. And at the end of the book, there's an interview that he does with a guy who asks him about what it was like to read your own book for the audio book version. And one of the things he said was, he goes, well, at that point is when you realize, like, afterward, like, I should have put it this way, or I should have changed this, or I should have, it feels like I have all this new information I could put into it now. So we're our own worst critics, really, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, hello, David Woorley has joined us.
David, I got it. Oh yeah, I actually got the amazing opportunity to proofread his book when he was doing it. So I got to exchange a few notes with him on that.
Cool.
It was definitely not anything substantive. It was more like, you might want to try a comma here. That's about it. So, but I mean, the content was already there. It was already brilliant. And so I just like, it makes it easier to read if you put a comma there or this and that. But it was very
about this book.
Absolutely. And my copy is obviously at home, and I always have it on my desk, and I've brought it out so many times.
It's so useful. Like, he did a great job with it too. Like, you don't read it and go, I still get it, because he puts it in ways where it's easy to kind of understand the fallacies.
Oh
And
yeah, it's great.
he's coming out with a part 2 now, apparently. So that's cool.
There was so many fallacies, you couldn't fit them all in one book. Yeah.
And there's more probably happen all the time. Apparently, according to the show I was on earlier today, the Atheists Drink It Out Loud, which, by the way, John, I think I'd love to have you join as our guest for one of the episodes. We do it once a month. So we're up to episode 5 today. And a lot of actually important topics were brought up today about the Me Too movement and stuff like that, which we hashed out and stuff like that. But you'd have to check it out and watch it. It's a pretty good episode.
Of course.
But a great question from, once again, my good friend Faye. Has losing religion changed your biases, your thinking, your politics, relationships, work, habits, attitudes about life, that kind of thing?
Excuse me. Oh, absolutely.
I would say, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the. It's funny because I thought about that. You think about that all the time. You look back and you go, wow. I mean, some of the views I held. Why did I hold them? And when Christianity is the central focus of your life, that is going to be the final deciding factor of how you view things. If you're ever on the fence about something, it's, well, let's just see what God says, and if you don't understand, the pastor will clear it up for you and let you know what you think. Let you know what God says.
Yeah, they don't ask you. They tell you what you think.
Right. This is what God says. So you think this now. So no, it's yeah. I mean, I've completely changed my stance on the abortion issue. I've completely changed my stance on things like, very cool. Goodness. I mean, I can't even know. I don't know where to start. I brought the abortion issue because I've had that debate a few times, but
oh yeah.
Even with LGBT people, I've definitely completely reversed my position on that. Do you
think about like the LGBTQIA plus community idea that you just brought up, or the thought that you just brought up about that? Do you think to yourself now, like, how could I have ever thought about that way about another human being?
Well, see, I was like never to the extent that I would have said that, yeah, we should just have the government. I wasn't like the Steven Anderson kind of, let's have the government step in and start executing them or anything like that.
Right.
Thankfully, I still had some sort of a brain at that point, but it was it was one of those things like, yeah, I mean, how can I sit here and go, yeah, I'm but in a way, no, it's like I said, that video I reviewed the other week, it was kind of the same thing of when you're in that position, you sit around and you have this undeserved sense of self-confidence that you're in the right position. And so yeah, it may seem like I'm being an asshole, but if you were right like me, you would understand. It's not that I'm wrong. It's just that you're wrong and you don't understand why I'm right. So,
yeah.
And so it was very, even Dr. Copeland, when I was reviewing that video, I can really spot that kind of thing now. And I was really surprised by it. I was like, this is a PhD biblical scholar, and man, there's that smugness. There's that there's that air of superiority that, well, we just, at the end of the day, we just know we're right and they're wrong, so it doesn't matter, what they think. It's like, man,
right.
That's sick. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest poison of it all, is that you end up in this bubble that reinforces that, don't worry, people tell you you're wrong, because you're not. So yeah, I can look back and go, I didn't really, it wasn't that I thought about what they deserve. It was that I thought about this God that I believed existed is not really up to me. It's up to him anyway. Yeah. So I was able to sort of pass off the blame to God. So I probably, like I said, I would never have been like, yeah, let's make them second-class citizens or do anything of that nature. It was no, we need to love everyone. We need to treat everyone, like people, but God's going to do what he's going to do, and that's not up to me.
Except if they're gay, right?
Right. Well, yeah, God's going to do what He's going to do at the end of the day, and what He does to you is not up to me. What He does to you is up to God. That's between you and God. That's not between you and me. Between you and me, I'm told to treat you like like my brother or my sister, and we're supposed to live our lives accordingly. So luckily, it wasn't. I got fortunate that I wasn't in getting indoctrinated into a more sinister sort of
type thing.
More sinister portion of Christianity that some people find themselves in. But yeah, it definitely was. I definitely look back going, man, it was very easy for me, because even in the back of your head, when you're in that position, you go, man, I'm glad I'm not them. Because mainly because you already have enough guilt as it is. It's like I don't know if I can handle more guilt. I don't know if I can handle any more like things that would make me feel further away from God, because you always feel like you're never doing enough. You always feel like you're never doing the right thing, and you always feel like God's mad at you for something. And so I kind of did look at it like, I'm really glad I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, me too. Being clearly being a cis white male in a patriarchal society, I don't really have to worry about too much, which, great for me, I guess, but I can't help but be on the side of people that are marginalized, right? And try to help them rise to the positions that we all get to enjoy, being cis white fucking males. Like, the whole system is fucking corrupt as shit, if you ask me.
Right. It amazes me, because I remember the I believe I was still a Christian. I was still a Christian at the time. If you remember the Matthew Shepard incident, that was kind of, even then I could sit back and recognize that as, this is completely wrong. There's no two ways about this. This is horrible, and this is not what, in my mind, my model of God had no part in this. Would never be a part of something like that. So, but then again, there are people who have models of God who are absolutely okay with this, so things like that. Then that's sort of obviously the horrific part of it is, and the horrific part of it needs to be eradicated. But that was one of the events that I can remember looking back and going, regardless of how I feel about any of it, or what any book says about it, we can obviously agree that this kind of thing should never happen.
Yeah.
No matter what anyone chooses to do or doesn't choose to do. And at the time, I probably would have said it was a choice to be, to not be, to be homosexual or anything other than straight. And now I obviously changed that. I've changed my position on that now as well. But
of course, because it's bullshit.
Right. So that was, but even holding the views I did, that's probably why I don't know that I was, like you said, I don't know that I could really identify as a fundamentalist, because I could sit back and say that is not in any way a part of what I want this world to be, even as a Christian, even as a minister or anything.
Right. That's good, because you're probably one of the more liberal side of that whole thing, which is, honestly, we need more of that in the churches and stuff like that.
Oh, right. I mean, luckily that is the trend. Obviously, even in my lifetime, I can see that happening a lot. Even in Christianity, we see that trend.
Yes, we do.
And that's probably why we also see it's what it seems to be the more vocal side of the side that is more dogmatic and fundamentalist and very extremist, is because they are seeing that slip away, and they do feel the need to be more vocal.
Yep.
Because there's no need to constantly remind people, that there's no need to constantly remind everyone and make YouTube videos if everyone already agrees with you.
That's right.
So what they do is that's why you see people like, the people like Steven Anderson and people like that. That's why you do see this. Is I've never heard him talk about the homosexual, like the LGBTQ community at all. I've heard him just get mad about Starbucks. I've never heard his rantings on that. He pops up in my news feed like on Facebook once in a while, but I tend to skip over it. I don't. I just if I need a laugh, I'll stop. But other than that, I've said I've never really heard his views on that. But I'm sure he probably is, just judging from his other views. I'm sure he's right in line with those other extremists. But the fact that they do get more vocal and they do seem to be more persistent about it, in a way, encourages me, because it kind of lets me know that they feel like they're losing the grip on it. They're losing the grip on the majority, what they feel is the way the majority feels. And the majority is kind of pulling away from them and saying, well, we're not quite, we're not quite on your side, we're not as quite on your side as you thought we were.
Wonder Lady is asking, Starbucks? I'm assuming you never heard about the whole Starbucks coffee cup fiasco for the holidays back a few years.
Yeah. Greg Locke was, he was really mad about Starbucks.
Yeah, but that dude fucking bought Andrew Settle's book, The Founding Myth, and burned it live on fucking Twitter or TikTok or whatever the hell it was he did that on.
I wish. Well, I don't know. Did Andrew do any kind of response?
No, he knew about it. He's like, whatever. The guy's a nobody, so who cares?
What he should have done was taken like whatever the cost of the book was and said, I'm just going to take Greg Locke's money and go buy Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, this is the money Greg Locke sent for this copy of this book. Now I'm going to go buy Starbucks with it.
Yeah. I mean, ever since then, Starbucks has not kowtowed. They just release whatever they feel is a neat design for that season. So.
Well, yeah, and companies don't have to anymore. It's getting, like I said, it's trending in the right direction. It's trending in the point where, the evangelical crowd doesn't have as much pull anymore. And we just obviously just saw that. Hopefully, we saw it, and we didn't see it as much as we wanted to in the United States, but we are seeing it slip away from them, and that's always encouraging.
Well, yeah, and I don't get the whole thing. I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand how anyone could get upset when somebody says Merry Christmas. Like, who gives a shit?
No, no.
That's the holiday. You can say that. Merry Christmas. Or Happy Hanukkah. Or Happy Kwanzaa. Or whatever the fuck. Right? I don't go around when people of the faith are celebrating Holi or something like what just happened there with the fireworks and stuff. Diwali. I don't go, hey, happy holidays. I say, oh, hey, happy Diwali, because that's what they're celebrating. So I think it's ridiculous to raise your arms, go, oh, wait, and then when someone just says happy holidays to cover all the ones around the same time of year, I don't really see an issue with that either.
I don't see an issue with using whatever phrase you feel like using. As long as you're not, going out of your way to piss anybody off or just to hurt somebody's feelings for no reason. And there's,
using a cynical tone, like happy holiday. It's like if somebody wishes you well, no matter what they say, just say, hey, thank you, you too. And that's it.
It's like I could tell when someone, it's like any word. It's like I can tell when someone is saying, how's it going, buddy? Or, hey, buddy. I can tell the difference. Just, I can tell you don't really want to be my buddy. So it's like it's
like the Hello Newman thing from Seinfeld. Hello.
Right. Right. It's like Penn and Teller said. It's not the words. It's it's the message.
It's the tone. Yeah.
You can have the same words with different messages.
Absolutely, for sure, man. Just before we come to a close here, because we're getting about 10 minutes away from the top hour. You're good for an after party? Are you good to stick around for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll come in for a little bit. I'll take a quick probably 10 minutes and jump back in, and then as long as my Wi-Fi holds out here, and I hope the connection's been good.
It's been good enough. Let's put it that way. We've been able to hear everything. It's a little choppy, but it's hotel Wi-Fi, so what's to be expected, right?
Right. It's not ideal.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay, man. It's worked fine. We haven't really missed anything. Right. You haven't completely frozen up on us. So everything's been great so far. So why don't you sort of let folks know exactly the kinds of videos that you do on your channel so they can, by the way, guys, the link is below and they can go over there and check out some of your content.
Right. I mean, it's a very basic setup. It's, I just use Streamyard and we jump on and we just talk about things. I'll have a video that I'll review. I've reviewed a couple of videos from Deflate's channel. He's a newer apologist on the scene, and I believe he's from, I don't know how to get it wrong. He's from across the pond, definitely. But he put some videos out there, short videos. I try not to review anything too long. My first few videos I went kind of long, and I was like, nah, people don't want to watch 3 hours of stuff. So I try to keep myself for about an hour. Right. I mean, after a while, I've gotten into conversations where it was me and a couple other atheists, and then about 3 or 4 Christians, and before you know it, 4 hours have gone by, and you're going, man, no one's ever going to watch this video. So,
well, that's how I met you. Was getting into a video where we were talking to Christians.
Right. Yeah, I do stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to take 3 hours and watch, please do. But it's mainly I do stuff that just have conversations that I feel like having, and if people want to join me for them, I love to have people on. I love to have, especially people I disagree with. I mean, I can sit in a room, for an hour and we just go, yep, that's right. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go, that video was awful. No one's going to watch that. I want someone to come in and tell me, here's what you screwed up, and this is where you're wrong about it. And I'm probably going to push
controversy
back a couple times. Right, it does, and it's just. But I want to be able to go. I mean, and in 6 months, I may tell someone that that no, I disagree completely, and in 6 months, I may go back and be like, remember that thing we talked about? Yeah, you were right the whole time. So, but I want to have that video there. I want to have that there, so I'm kind of documenting just little things I pick up, little things I learn, little things I want to investigate. And but if someone, so I had people on to talk about the abortion issue. I've had people on to talk about just theism in general. I reviewed a couple of videos there was one about the argument from contingency, I believe, and there was one about there was another video of a channel called Catalyzing Faith, where we talked. I kind of reviewed a portion of his video where he was talking about the universe having a mind, that kind of idea. So it's just conversations in general. It's just kind of picking apart some of these ideas and some of these, just theism. Yeah, it's not. I don't even really cover like a specific topic every week. It's kind of just whatever pops in my head or whatever strikes me. I'll be going through YouTube and find a video that I like, and I'll just go, I haven't seen anything about that before. Yeah, it is a visceral sort of thing like that. It's like, excuse me, it just kind of go, that'll hit me. Yeah, I gotta get on that. It's not even a thought out thing. It's kind of whatever strikes me, whatever kind of I gotta get the urge to talk about. But I like having other people with me. So if anybody ever wants to, like, if you like to do stuff like that, I love to have people on there while I'm reviewing it. I don't want to sit there by myself and just talk about what I think. I like to have other people there going, well, here's what I think is going on here, and here's my perspective on it. So maybe we can get a little tension going,
I think that's a great idea. It's always good to have someone there with you so you can bounce ideas off each other too. And dude, if you ever need it, you never short for someone, just give me a holler. I'll jump in and fucking laugh at some folks and make some comments. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, we can do that. We'll spend the time. A couple of videos I have, we spent some time just looking at it, and about 10 minutes in, we're like, yeah, this argument's garbage, and we know why. But he's got cool wallpaper. We talked about his wallpaper at one point on one of the videos, and he had awesome wallpaper. I'm legitimately jealous of his setup because like his set looked cool. I've got some curtains behind me usually, and I'm like, man, I need to get his advice on that. His advice on religion is obviously garbage, but his advice on wallpaper, that's amazing.
I need to know. Well, I've got a green screen that I can put into use. I just haven't actually set it up yet. I think we're probably going to see. I'm waiting because my very good friend Randolph, who's the president of Canadian Atheists,
right.
We're doing a call-in show, and we'll probably send you an invite to come and co-host with us because we're going to have another atheist co-host with us from the community once a month when we do the show.
I would be honored.
It would be a lot of fun. I think you'd be a great person to have on there with us because I've heard you go back and forth with other theists before because I was with you a couple times when you were doing that. So I've heard that shit go down. So I think it'd be a great guest to have help us co-host or to co-host with
Yeah,
us.
that's I tend to that's when people either jump ship or stick with me. That's when I start when I start talking to people that I don't agree with. That's kind of when people just go. We sit here, we can talk about things, but then I do get into that that mode when it's time to talk about things like that, and I think I'm kind of trying to suppress that a little bit. I'm trying to get better.
Why?
I'm still new at it, so. Because I don't want to be considered a douchebag or anything like that. I try to present it that way. Like, look, I'm not. This is about this topic. Because we can sit around and talk a different topic all day long, and it's not going to be contentious at all. And even we might even though we may disagree, but I'm not trying to be contentious towards you. This is your idea I'm about to eviscerate. This is your your little pet thing that you have. We need to put it on the table, and I need you to disavow any kind of emotional attachment to it because I'm going to pound it with a hammer. It's like,
this is going to hurt.
Right, and I want to do the same for myself. I want people to feel free to do that with me also, and I want people to do that to me also. I want to give what I get, and vice versa.
Right, for sure.
So I do want to be able to say, if someone finds me going, hey, you're a little too attached to this thing. You're kind of getting upset. Put your idea on the table and disavow all emotional attachment. And that's how we're gonna get things done.
For sure.
So.
Well, I have watched a couple of your videos from your channel where you sort of go over stuff, and I quite enjoy them. I'm not going to get particular.
Thank you.
But I think you've got a good viewpoint on a lot of these things. So I highly recommend, guys, that you do go and check out his channel. If you like what you hear, give him a sub because he deserves way more subs than you have. Who knows? It might actually get him to be a little bit more active on the channel too. So
yes, I will. The more people send me, if you want me to review a video, send me one. I mean, I'm on my Twitter link. My YouTube link is on Twitter. I think my Twitter link is in the description also. And send me a video if you want me to review it. DM me stuff, whatever. Just send me ideas if you have time. You see something, you're like, shoot it over to them. And if I like it, I check my messages regularly. So please help me out.
And I've got 3 links below. You got Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can contact him via any one of those if you do have an idea or something that you'd like to see another take or thought. So definitely do that for sure. Well, John, I say, why don't we just sort of wrap this up and we can get into an after party because it's a couple of minutes before the end of an hour. We'll take a bit of a break there, guys. We'll take about 10 minutes or so. So we can, of course, like I always say, we only rent beer. We don't really drink it. But you're doing the look like the Mountain Dew thing there. But
yep, I'm about to go to water. I have literally this has been a hard week because I have been weaning myself off of caffeine. So I bought the small bottles now, and I drink a half of one.
There you go. Yeah, water's good, man. It's good to stay hydrated.
It is.
I mean, water is the lubricant for your body, so it's.
And I don't have beer, so that's going to be that's why I'm going to water. I don't have beer right now.
Man, if I could hand you one through the internet, I would right now. Here you go. Try one of these.
That is when technology will. That's when we'll be done with technology. When we can do that. That's when we can stop.
Well, I could just instantly teleport over there, like the new Star Trek Discovery teleporters, and be there. Here you go. All right, I'm going back, and we'll hook up. Mind you, if we could do that, we wouldn't even need to do it this way. We could just talk in one room, right? But of course,
we can fire all the scientists once we can do that. I'll be fine with that. By then, we'll have the cure for everything anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we could hope, that's for sure. But the thing about the rhinoviruses and coronaviruses is they're really hard to lock down for a cure because they keep mutating. So it's a tough one. But anyway, John, man, thank you so much for joining me today, man. It was great to chat with you finally about all this. And I love the fact you were gung-ho to come on to begin with. I think it's
absolutely
fantastic. And I appreciate the work that you do with your, as I call, activism. Might be like, I don't know if I'm so much of an activist, but but you are, sir, you are, and every voice counts. All right, so let's remember that.
Thank you, sir. I
hope you
appreciate
guys.
you having me. I
Oh yeah.
apologize for the imminent decline of your channel, though, because now that you've had me on, there is no way it will recover, and so I apologize in advance. But no, Neil, I've been watching you since before I've ever met you, so your reputation
wow.
precedes you, and I couldn't wait to come on your channel. You're a great guy. I knew I wanted to come on your channel before I even talked to you. So thank you so
Wow, that's
much
cool,
for having
man.
me.
That means a lot. My pleasure, sir. It was a great conversation. I hope you guys in the chat enjoyed it as much as we did. We are going to have an after party, probably about an hour and a half or so. The length of the after party, not the time it's going to be till we do it. It'll be about somewhere between 10, 50 minutes. So Doorknob Head, it's order 66, not 69. If you went to Clone Wars. But anyway, order 69. Oh, I see what he's doing. Fucking Doorknob Head. Anyways, guys, if you are interested in joining John and myself for the after party, please let me know either via or, and I will give you a link and you can hop in here and shoot the shit with us. We'll have all kinds of talks I'm sure will be brought up, as you know. Of course, thanks once again to my awesome producer, Mikey Famine, who has redone my opening and closing themes. If you guys did like those little clips of the stream starting and stream ending, which you'll see in a couple of minutes, you'd like the tunes that we're using, that's my band. So hit me up and I'll give you a link to the rest of the music if you're up for it. And also, many of you are already aware, but some of you might not be. I am one of the now regular hosts of the nonprofits on the ACA channel network. So if you haven't seen any of the recent nonprofits shows, the first one was out last Sunday, I think, with myself and Puck and not Jenna Belk, Jenna Mew and Martin as well. So definitely check that out. We didn't record this week because they had one in the can that they could run this week, but we're back to recording next Wednesday and it'll be out again on the Sunday. So check out the new nonprofit show. I should add a link to that in the description box now because I'm one of the permanent hosts on that show. So also thank you very much to all my patrons. It's because of you guys that the show keeps improving. At least I hope it's improving. But anyway, so thank you to all those amazing patrons. You guys are what keeps me going. And also thanks to all my people that hang out in the chats all the time. It's always great to see you guys there. And hopefully I get to all the questions that are brought up whenever I can. And until next time, guys, like I always say at the end, wait, before I go, I forgot one. Randolph and myself are starting up True North Talk soon. I did mention that earlier in the show. There is a link to that new channel in the description box as well. So go and check that out and sub to the channel for the great conversations that I'm sure will be had when we have people calling in to talk to us about all kinds of stuff. And until next time, guys, like I always say at the end of these shows, with the whole COVID-19 thing going on, remember to be well and be safe. And above all, be kind, okay? Wear your mask. It won't kill you. And keep clean and trying to steal coins. Damn you, purple. Anyway, until next time, guys, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.